Welcome to another video of Introduction to New Zealand Electricity Market. In this section, we'll be covering the overview of New Zealand gas market and what kind of an interaction is there between the gas market and the electricity market. So in this video, we'll be covering about the different gas fields in New Zealand gas usage, the production, the transmission and distribution, how much storage is there, what are the drivers for the gas pricing, and how does the gas market dynamics basically impact on the electricity market. So let's get into it. In this slide, I will give you a brief introduction of the gas fields in New Zealand. Fossil gas or natural gas in New Zealand is extracted from both onshore and offshore fields, mainly based on the Taranaki region. The first gas field, which was called as the Kapuni gas field, was discovered in 1959, and the gas was extracted in the field from 1970s. On an annual level, New Zealand produces 180 petajoules of energy from gas. So there are 6 main natural gas fields. The 3 offshore fields are Pukuhura, Maui, and Kopi. And then there are 3 large onshore fields, which are Mangawa, Turangi, and Kapuni. And apart from that, there are also 12 smaller onshore fields that produce gas. In these offshore fields, Maui field is basically the largest gas producing field with a daily average of around 100 to 120 terajoules extracted per day. The gas in New Zealand is utilized in many ways for like gas cooking, heating, industrial processes, particularly petrochemicals, and then gas is also used in electricity production. When it comes to petrochemicals, it's basically used in methanol. So Methanex is the largest gas user in New Zealand. They've got a large site which produces gas as well, and then the rest of the gas is used for electricity consumption. In terms of the electricity consumption, the Huntly power station, that's actually a very large power station, and that power station uses gas for electricity consumption. Just to add more about these offshore fields, Puhukara, Maui, and Kupi. So Puhukara is also one of the largest gas field as well. But there's a story behind Puhukara that back in 2018, Puhukura basically had an unexpected gas outage, and since then there was a shortfall of gas supply due to the Puhukura outage. Following the outage, we've seen production from Puhukura go up and down, I guess. So it's not like consistently a lot of production from Puhukura coming up as well. The gas industry in New Zealand is operated by a currently self-regulated body called Gas Industry Co. And most of the information in the slides that I'm sharing is, if you can find that on Gas Industry Co as well. I'll add a link in the notes as well. Now you must be wondering, what role does Electricity Authority play in that? So Electricity Authority, the role that Electricity Authority plays is it measures the amount of gas which is actually being used for electricity generation, and it publishes the short-run marginal reports of gas each month to understand how much gas was used for electricity consumption. So that's the general structure of the gas industry in New Zealand. The upstream sector is governed primarily through the Crown Minerals Act of 1991, which is monitored by the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. Gas Industry Co role under the Gas Act looks after the downstream sector comprising of processing facilities, transmission, distribution, wholesale, and consumer market. So the self-regulated body Gas Industry Co that I talked about in the previous slide is mainly looking after facilities, distribution, and the consumer needs. And they also publish quarterly reports that give you information about gas supply and demand in New Zealand. I can share the link of these reports in the notes. In terms of gas usage, you can see 10% consumption is the SME consumption, 15% is your plant and industry, 30% is around your electricity generation and co-generation, and then your 45% is your feedstock and petrochemicals. And when it comes to petrochemicals, the largest user is again Methanex. So this is more like a further breakdown of the gas usage per industry. The biggest use of gas in New Zealand is for petrochemicals, which is the methanol production at by Methanex. 95% of methanol from New Zealand is basically exported to Asia Pacific. The second one is balanced fertilizer, which is used by many farms in New Zealand. The third is largest user would be the steel manufacturer at Glenbrook. And then again, it's used for wood processing. Gas is used for high temperature, and then dairy plants as well. Followed by these large industrial users, we also have 5,000 large commercial gas users, which are using gas for uses such as space heating, hot water for hotels. Natural gas is also used in vegetation processes. And followed by that, there are also small commercial businesses that use gas, followed by residential customers. About 4% of gas is used for cooking, hot water, heating homes. So this is just a gas transition pathway which has been published by the gas industry. And the gas industry co in New Zealand believes that there will be some gas used in 2050 as the country moves towards a net zero economy. And they believe about 50 to 110 petajoules of gas will be used in 2035, followed by around 26 to 50 petajoules in 2050, mainly for petrochemicals use, industrial, commercial, agriculture, and residential use. So First Gas Limited is basically a natural gas transmission and distribution company in New Zealand that has got a large pipeline of gas network spanning around 2,500 kilometers. A bit of a story around First Gas and the New Zealand gas transmission and distribution infrastructure is that a natural gas corporation was basically established by a New Zealand government following the discovery of natural gas in the Kapuni field that I've covered in the previous slides, that gas was discovered in the Kapuni fields in 1959. So Natural Gas Corporation was the first gas entity in New Zealand that was responsible for the gas transmission, and they expanded their network in 1970, supporting major expansion in New Zealand. But in 1992, the Natural Gas Corporation, or shortly they used to call it NGC, was privatized and was sold to Vector Limited, a company named Vector Limited, and in 2004. Following that, that was again sold in 2016 to First State Funds, and then First State Funds named that as First Gas during the acquisition. So First Gas also bought the Maui pipeline for 300 million. That's actually a pretty large pipeline. So Maui pipeline is around 300 kilometers long, which is stretching from the Oini production station through Huntly and carries around 60 to 70% of New Zealand onshore and offshore natural gas. On the other hand, First Gas also owns the storage facility, which is the Ohara gas facility. So that's a large gas facility storage gas facility that I'll be covering in the previous slides. So Ohara, or you may call it Ohura Gas Facility, is an underground natural gas facility located in the Taranaki region, and this is again owned by First Gas, or you can say First Gas is the subsidiary, or Flex Gas, which is subsidiary of First Gas. The storage facility is used to supply the Stratford power station and other major users of gas during peak demand. It can store up to 18 petajoules of gas and has got an injection rate of around 65 terajoules per day. So the story behind is then again, it was basically owned by Contact Energy. Contact Energy sold it to Flex Gas or First Gas in 2017. And that's where Flex Gas or First Gas has the ownership of the storage facility. In terms of the gas prices, majority of the natural gas in New Zealand is bought and sold via bilateral contracts, details of which are basically not made public. On the other hand, the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Energy publishes quarterly reports, energy pricing data. I have added a link where you can have a look at the average quarterly natural gas prices for wholesale, industrial, commercial, and residential customers for the last quarters from 1980 to 2022. So have a link in the notes on the gas prices and you'll be able to see the average quarterly natural gas prices. Apart from that, a small amount of gas is also sold on a trading point, which is called as EMS trade point, but it's only a really small amount of gas. If you visit the link in the notes, you'll be able to have see EMS trade point too. I guess a couple of reasons why gas prices in New Zealand have increased. It's one of the major reasons is declining reserves in the Maui fields, and then followed by that we've got high gas pricing coming from both Pohukara and Kopi. And I guess overall Pohukara production has also not been really high to offset the decline from Maui, and that's why we've seen an increase in gas prices. Another partial reason is also the expiry of legacy contracts in June 2009. So it's a bit of a story behind. So prior to 2009, if there were any shippers in the system and they created imbalances, the interconnected and the shippers were not responsible really directly for the imbalance they created. But following after 2009, interconnected parties and gas shippers became responsible for the imbalances they created. Before that, they already had a system in place by First Gas and Vector to manage the balancing system of the gas, and that was also a partial driver in terms of high gas prices that we've seen.